Like my pajama pants with my polo. Tis a look. I don't have a room to myself, so now I'm filming in the living room at 8 a.m. because I was hoping that everyone would be quiet. But alas, everyone has woken up and I just told them to shh. But first, remember to subscribe. Consider, because again, how can I teach you things if you never see that my videos or come around? Consider subscribing because I'm really cool. First, I should probably explain where I am. It is actually Thanksgiving break, so I am back at home, and I will remain home throughout the entirety of winter quarter. I'm starting to realize that was not the greatest plan, but it is okay. I'm gonna learn or to figure this out together. So speaking of dorms, I thought that since I am now gone, I could now speak honestly about my opinions on Woodlawn dorm. I should also make just a quick little disclaimer and say that these are just my opinions. I'm sure that other people might think Woodlawn is super great or like the worst thing they've ever experienced. I can only speak for myself, right? Just Risclam, a second-year econ/French major, okay? So I thought that the best way to classify my experience is first by talking about 5 essential things that make Woodlawn Woodlawn, and then talking about my rating of Woodlawn as a whole at the very end. I have my polo on because we're all fancy today. Let's just jump right into it. Can you tell that I'm talking quietly? Don't want to wake everyone. What am I kidding? They're already awake. So the first aspect of Woodlawn that I wanted to talk about is the rooms. Now, I was fortunate enough to be put in Woodlawn during a COVID year. You wouldn't say that out loud very often. But that means that everyone in Woodlawn is in a room by themselves, no matter whether it's a double or a single. And that was really lovely because that meant that many people got dingles, double singles, including myself. I have not seen the singles. However, I do sort of fear for them. They do have really lovely windows from what I've seen. I know that they're a lot nicer perhaps than the singles at North with their little prison windows. They certainly designed Woodlawn with the intent to be economical, to get as many people in that building as possible so they could expand the number of students they can admit and the amount of tuition that they're allowed to collect. My double in Woodlawn was really lovely. However, I feel that if it were to be shared between 2 people, that would be very unpleasant. So perhaps keep that in mind. It's a huge room for 1 person, but a very small one for 2. What I will say though is that the rooms were generally well shaped. In my Woodlawn room last year, it was a square, and then because there were no windows in that square, there was a hallway that connected to a single window, which obviously didn't lead to a lot of natural lighting. That was one huge benefit of coming to Woodlawn, in which all the rooms were mostly square shaped. My room does have 2 weird corners, but I think we can forget about that shortly. Another thing that people often overlook is that these rooms are actually air conditioned, which is a luxury that not all buildings actually have. We have a lovely thermostat in Woodlawn. Last year in iHouse, my room was cooled and heated via radiator and ceiling fan. It's a little bit bizarre that I had to be saying that, but yeah. Otherwise, I can also say that these rooms open with a lock and key rather than a passcode, which is the norm for all of the new dorms. I'm not really sure if that's a benefit or a negative, but I think that the old-fashioned key is good. The next negative that I can think of is that the walls are relatively thin. Now, I didn't know this because on one side of my room was the house lounge and the other side was empty because, again, COVID year and there's like 12 people in my house total. However, a few weeks ago, there was a maintenance person that walked into the room next to mine and I heard everything that they were doing. Now, I'm the type of person who like hears a sound in the far distance and then gets distracted. So if you are also a type of person like that, then maybe Woodlawn isn't right for you, or you're not going to want to study in your room to begin with. I don't know. What I will say though is that at iHouse, I could like sing freely in my room and no one ever complained to me. You know, I never really heard anyone entering or exiting their room, so that's a big benefit because obviously when you have 40 or 50 people on a floor on a non-COVID year, there's going to be a lot of entering and exiting. Otherwise, I just must mention, what were the designers thinking when they designed the ceilings? I think they were going for like industrial chic. Industrial chic does not mean cracked concrete on the ceiling. There were times where I'd be sitting on my bed, I'd look up and I'd be like, yep, that's a prison. That is prison ceiling right there. It is cracked. There are pieces of like plywood, like particles that were like stuck in the concrete when they like ripped it off. It's really not good. Who thought that was a good idea? It certainly was not me. I sometimes will show the ceiling to people just to be like, haha, look at this. But every single person I've shown is not like, yeah, it's cute. It's like, this is concerning. This really like has no impact on my life other than aesthetic, but like no one wanted that. The second aspect that I wanted to talk about is the house lounges. Now, they just opened up the house lounges because of our greatness in terms of dealing with Corona. But that means that I've only dealt with the Woodlawn lounges for like 3 days. So my experience is purely based on those 3 days and perhaps not the entire year or a year then, or a year when the house lounges have been decorated and it's all cute and like we've all figured out what the frick is going on in the house lounges, okay? First thing, why is the TV so high up? I don't understand who thought it would be a good idea to put the bottom of the TV at 12 feet. Who is that tall? I was playing Mario Kart with my RAs a few days ago, and we were all like looking at the TV like, and it hurt. It hurt my head, okay? Also, for whatever reason, it doesn't go over 31 out of 100 for volume. So if you're listening to someone really quiet, you're just not gonna hear them. I don't know what to say about that, but I was not happy when I found that out. I also detest vinyl furniture. Why can't we be trusted to have normal fabric furniture? But there's something about sitting on vinyl furniture that makes me feel like I am in a doctor's office. Sure, it's like good for cleaning, but I would hope that no one's making a mess in the lounge. Maybe in the future, let's consider the good old normal ass furniture, thanks. The one thing that I will say that I like besides the huge ass windows is the main central staircase that connects all of the different floors of Haunted House. I think that's actually really lovely because you can see who's in the lounge when you're going to the bathroom or coming back from lunch. You can also poke your head in and say hi, or, you know, come down through the central staircase to the second floor, which is close to the ground floor. You see where I'm going with this. It's actually really lovely. And sure, it actually, I think, is relatively small in comparison to the house lounges at North, but it's about the same size as the house lounges that I have, so it's not the worst. Besides the house lounges, there is also a building lounge on the ground floor, which I checked out during my quarantine dinner video. It's actually quite lovely. There's a projector and this like huge conference room table, some nice seats. One aspect that I actually sort of forgot about, because it's actually located in Woodlawn East, is the second floor rooftop garden. The first time that I walked into it, I was blown away, honestly. It is so amazing. There's a little grassy spot and a whole bunch of chairs. This rooftop garden is incredibly windy. It's worth it because you just get the aesthetic of like being surrounded by these really nice looking buildings, and you get a view of the street, and you can sit in these nice metallic chairs and do work on a nice metallic table. Really worth it. I like Secret Garden. Secret Garden, very cool. Honestly, I would probably say that's my favorite part of the entire building. Aspect number 3, the Woodlawn bathrooms. Now, I think there's a big like difference between my experience and maybe an experience next year, because my bathroom was only shared between 4 people and there were 7 people on my floor. But on a normal year, I would probably be sharing a bathroom with like 15 to 20 people, and there are 30, 40, 50 people on my floor. One thing that I actually will say that I was very impressed with is the fact that there is a women's bathroom, a men's bathroom, and a co-ed bathroom. And that was something that I did not have when I was at iHouse. When I was at iHouse, I actually had to share a co-ed bathroom, and that meant that I had to shower in a co-ed bathroom, and that was a bit chaotic. And I don't really want to go into that at this current moment. I finished the year traumatized. So having 3 bathrooms is really lovely because you get a little bit of privacy. And hey, these showers actually have stall doors that you can lock, so that's cool. I shouldn't have to say that, but yet I do. The only real downside of having 3 bathrooms on one floor is that each of those bathrooms are going to be a bit smaller. The women's bathroom, and I'm sure the men's bathroom is the same, has 2 toilets, 2 showers, 2 sinks. This quarter, I've never really had the issue of having to wait for someone to get out of the shower or wait for someone to get out of the bathroom because, again, there's only 4 people using it. But I have a feeling that maybe in the future this will be an issue where you are having to wait a bit to like use the restroom of facilities. These are all future problems, right? Otherwise, I like the water pressure. The water pressure, very strong. Number 4, Woodlawn Dining Commons. Now, I will be mostly comparing Woodlawn to Cathy because that is the dining hall that I spent all my time in last year. Now, the only residence halls that are going to Cathy, as far as I'm aware, are BJ and South. What I will say first is actually quite like Woodlawn's dining hall. It has lots of options and it reminds me a lot of Cathy. And this year we have outdoor seating. And I don't know if that's just like a Corona thing, but if we could keep those chairs outside, that'd be really cool. I would appreciate that. I don't think it's as good as Cathy. However, I think that in terms of like the selection options, It's certainly better than Baker and Bartlett. Let me know if you agree with that one. I don't know. Yeah, I honestly have like no complaints about the food. Everything has actually tasted really good so far. And one thing I will say that maybe is overlooked sometimes is that the workers at Woodlawn are really nice. I'm just not a fan of the like sterility aesthetic that Woodlawn has, Kathy sort of has, and Baker certainly has. It's just not that cute. Now, it's one thing when you're in Kathy and you're allowed to go off to those side rooms that really feel like Harry Potter, like eating room, I don't know what it's called. But my house table at Woodlawn is located kind of smack dab in the middle of the entrance. People that are entering the dining hall have to pass right by Han, and that's a little bit annoying. But like the scooped ice cream at Kathy was so fire. Why did they decide that was no longer okay? We only have popsicles at Woodlawn, and that's no fun at all. Because at Kathy we had like toppings and we had like yummy ice cream. I don't know who I should talk to about this, but please consider getting some scooped ice cream. That's like my favorite part about Kathy, and that is a big downside of having to be at Woodlawn. Number 5, the thing that everyone would like to know, is Woodlawn really that far away from campus? Now, I actually say no, and that's partially because, you know, I'm coming from iHouse, in which it's a 10-minute walk. I have a feeling that Woodlawn might actually be a bit shorter than that, but like I say always, when you have a bike, it's very much negligible, so I wouldn't really worry about it. It's really not that far. I will say though that when you are crossing the Plaisance to go to the quad, you do have to cross several unprotected intersections, which can get a bit sketchy when we're talking about cars that are going Mach 10 down that avenue. So student council, if you're watching this, perhaps consider putting up a sign or something. That might be smart. Overall though, I will say that the walk is actually really lovely. So you walk up University most of the time, and you will pass the Plaisance, and you will be walking through this cute little pathway, and you know, while you're walking there, you're looking directly onto Harbor Library and Rockefeller Memorial Chapel. On your left, you get to see like beautiful sunsets and the roller skating rink / ice skating rink. Because the Plaisance has no trees more or less in the middle, you actually get this really lovely undisturbed view of sunsets when you're going to some random study session or office hours on the quad. Look at that. I'm almost done. Time for my bonus round of complaining, because I have complaints. First off, my bike was stolen from Woodlawn. Woodlawn is shaped like a U, right? It looks like this, and I put my bike right there. Y'all saw in that first video, okay? My bike was protected by the U, yet because the Woodlawn security is so poor, there was someone that walked around essentially to the middle of our like Woodlawn quad, stole my bike by breaking the lock, and then rode away with my bike. And this is not the first time this has happened, because there are bikes in the bike rack without front tires. At iHouse, there's always someone guarding the corner, right? So there was no one that ever wanted to steal bikes from the front of iHouse. But yet somehow that is okay in Woodlawn. Speaking of bikes, there's also no indoor bike storage. So during the winter, if you're not gonna leave your bike out in the cold, you will have to bring it into your room. If you're in a double and your roommate also has a bike, that means you're gonna have 2 muddy, snowy, wet bikes in your room, taking up more space than you perhaps already have. There's also no summer storage. In iHouse, I don't know if this is still the case, but you were allowed to take 2 boxes and a mini fridge and bring them to the basement where they would keep them over the summer, so you'd have a little less to bring home. At Woodlawn, they decided to give up on that idea. So everything that you bring to Woodlawn at the beginning of the year, you're gonna have to take out of Woodlawn at the end of the year. But hey, I guess if people steal your bike, then that's one less thing that you have to bring back. So there's also no indoor gym. So if you wanted to go work out anytime during the quarter, you'd either have to do so in your room, you'd have to run, or you'd have to make the trek all the way to Radnor, which is past the quad, so it's probably more than a 15-minute walk. So essentially, you going to Radnor is the workout itself, and that's no good. So I'm a little pissed off about that, frankly. My overall rating is a 5 out of 10. Now, this isn't based on my experience at all, right? My experience, like being within my house specifically, has actually been really, really lovely. I would rate that 10 out of 10. But if we are talking purely about the amenities and the things that are available, Woodlawn is incredibly lackluster. Woodlawn thinks that just because it is super modern and it has air conditioning, that it's hot shit. If you don't have the basic necessities of a college dorm, then there's just no point. I asked for quiet. I asked for a place to put my bike. But alas, they have not only stolen it, but there wasn't even a spot to put it if I had one. I should just say that, like, the point of me making this video is not to scare you if you got put in Woodlawn. It's a fine dorm, you'll survive, it's great. This is just meant to prepare you and tell you what to bring, what not to bring, right? I suppose just keep that in mind. So with that rating of 5 out of 10, I'm all done with this video, and maybe I can make an iHouse one too. I think that would be kind of fun. I liked her. iHouse is cute. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. It was lovely, although I did struggle a whole lot in order to try to secure the space to make my video. I hope y'all have a lovely Thanksgiving break. Subscribe. Thanks. Bye.